It's DTS 221. We're talking about the Shattered Throne Dungeon Breakthrough. Masterwork Cores are going to be given some tweaks, as well as those exotic drop chances. All that and more coming up.
You're listening to Destiny, the show.
What is good, everybody, and welcome to the DTS podcast. My name is BBKDRAGOON. I am joined, as always, by my great co-host, Ditty. What is up, my dude? How was your week?
What a week it has been, ramping up into quarter four. Oh my goodness, it's never ending these days. All the free
never
time
ending
I have
in good
is,
ways, or what?
Well, you know, in terms of job stability, it's good, but in terms of free time, it's not.
Are you saying everything's breaking? Everything's catching on fire?
End of the year is always, everyone scrambles. They're always on edge about other projects they're not finishing, and if their mouse dies, they yell at the IT guy, which is of course me. So, oh well, can't blame them.
I've been meaning to ask you about this mouse over here, Ditty. It just stops working from time to time. But for real, this is one of my favorite times of the year.
Throw it against the wall and buy a new one.
I like that advice. If you hear just a loud thud in the show, that's what it is. Fall is one of my favorite times, not just from a gaming perspective, but I don't know. There's something really nostalgic.
A weather perspective. It's not as hot as Satan anymore. It's it dropped below 80 degrees last week. It was nice.
That's the first time in 14 years there, right?
The drought is over. Right in time for the Forsaken drought.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to talk about that today because we are 1 month into Forsaken right now. And we have not hit drought points. I really want to preface that. We have not hit drought points, but the next 6 to 8 weeks are going to be very revealing, especially to those players who are on the fence about the annual pass. What kind of support are we going to see in between the little bits and pieces of stuff of the large releases? You know, Forsaken and the Taken King remind me of like the Avengers films, and then Curse of Osiris and like the House of Wolves and the Dark Below. They're almost like the little standalone films, but not the good standalone films. The ones for like the obscure characters that you're like, all right, that was good, but I'm still waiting for the next big budget one, right?
Yeah, like Age of Triumph was Thor Ragnarok. It was really good.
Yeah.
Except that Curse of Osiris was, what was it, Winter Soldier or something? I don't know. I haven't seen any of the Marvel movies.
Original Daredevil? Curse of Osiris is like that old Daredevil film from forever ago.
Oh, yeah.
That was awful.
Yeah, but I can't really speak to the Marvel films. I've only seen half of them, so I need to... I've missed out on pretty much all the Captain America movies. Like, I saw the first one, and that's it.
They're enjoyable. I really like the first one. We're getting off topic here, by the way. So, this last week, a ton of things happened in the Dreaming City. Breakthrough came out. Masterwork Cores are going to be getting a change to them. Bungie sort of reiterated, hey, they're hard to get, but we are not removing them from Infusion. We're just going to make them a little bit easier for you guys to get. And, by the way, we're renaming them. Just so you guys have a better... We're changing it. The artist formerly known as Masterwork Cores. News! All right, Ditty, before we get into the news, I do want to talk about the reception to last week's show. So if you didn't listen last week, we did announce in detail... we're in the last month of Destiny, the show. We're going to be concluding DTS the 3rd week of October. So you guys are listening now to like the last 3 or 4 shows of DTS. I think it's 4 left or something like that, or 3 left. And overwhelming amounts of kindness coming from you guys. I want to say I was overwhelmed. And I don't know about you, Ditty, but man, what a week of just a lot of people coming out of the woodwork saying that you've listened for X amount of time. And it really was touching. So thank you.
Yeah, 100% agreed. It was really nice to see all the comments on last week's YouTube video, all the comments in our Discord server about all your experiences, about how we've kept you guys up to date. And we really appreciate all the support throughout the years and moving on forward.
Moving on forward, indeed. I do want to make one comment. I had a couple of people asking if I'm stopping YouTube. So to clarify, no, my YouTube channel is still going on, still planning on uploading just as much as before. And Ditty, it's not like Ditty and I are, divorcing or whatever. Ditty is still going to appear on the channel, and we still, from time to time, are definitely going to hop in front of the microphones and talk about things. I mean, there are going to be opportunities down the road where, obviously, neither Ditty or I are leaving Destiny, like, as a game. We're still going to probably be following this thing at the back of our minds for the rest of forever. And when there's some big, cool, significant stuff, we might have some little surprise appearances here and there. So we definitely read, though, your feedback and ideas about doing some things, and we've been in discussions about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And moving forward, like our philosophy was the last year and a half, we are not, if something really awesome or something really bad happens in Destiny in the next year or two, we will not be producing content based on the success or decline of the game. We will produce it at our leisure whenever we want.
Yeah, we really didn't want to walk away in a salty spire of, no, Curse of Osiris anger. I didn't want to get lost in the infinite forest. That would just be a bad deal. All right, let's talk about this week at Bungie. Ditty. The Dreaming City last week reached its full-on max curse, taking the junk everywhere, and it brought with it a couple of cool new things. Obviously, we've been having the story missions each week, bringing in a little bit new lore for the picture. Then, spoilers, if you guys didn't experience this and you don't want to hear about what happened last week, then I guess you can skip ahead in the show a few minutes. But last week, when you did your Oracle engine and you did the offering, you actually got to go through a portal, and there she was in all her sparkly pants glory, Ditty, Mara Sov, right there. That hit me out of left field. I definitely was not expecting it. What about you?
That was really super cool. Just bringing everything full circle from the campaign and all the lore. Seeing Mara Sov herself right there on her throne in her throne world it was like, oh, hey, what's up? Nice to see you again. And I really want that armor set in the game. Like that, she's a fashionable lady.
Super sparkly. I want those sparkly things. That should be that would be an ornament in Destiny 1, like sparkles or something like that.
The Return of Queen's Wrath.
Mm-hmm. Totally. The original. Not the not the later, but the OG Queen's Wrath event.
Yep.
I do want to mention, too, underneath the city, the Shattered Throne Dungeon, a 590 endgame activity that was just unexpected, where you basically had what I would call a 3-man baby raid encounter. Is that an appropriate way to categorize it?
Yeah, I would say so. A Nightfall on steroids, or what a Nightfall should be,
Yeah, a piece of content absolutely geared towards the people who've been raiding and reaching those endgame points. Like, you need to be going after this with a seriously high power group. Gorgeous visuals, challenging mechanics. Of course, it's been soloed. Would you expect anything less, right?
Let me guess, Slayerage.
Oh, I'm sure at this point it's going to be, beaten, soloed, one-handed, blindfolded.
With a Rock Band drum set.
With a Rock Band drum set. Next, beaten with a cucumber and a potato. But for real, this was extremely cool. And it is categorized as a dungeon. I wanted to throw this idea into the mix. If each of the annual pass releases is a few strikes, a new raid layer, a new dungeon, a bunch of new gear, and then long pursuits on top of it, I like that reality. I feel like I look at that and go, oh, okay, that is how Destiny could survive content droughts, or at least alleviate some of those drier periods, right?
Yeah, I would say that's a good direction to go, since they've said that they're going away from the story content in the annual pass releases. The focus on maintaining the hobby coming back. They really focus on that in Forsaken. There's a lot of stuff to do daily, weekly, every weekend, that kind of stuff. And if they just continue with that philosophy, ignoring the story, because the story is only played through once, pretty much. 98% of the population only plays through the story once, so it would make sense that they're not focusing on that for future releases. And more dungeons, more raids, more raid layers, all that kind of stuff. Just more. Let's do it.
I think you and I have always been very vocal about Skolas being one of our favorite moments ever in Destiny. Pre-nerf Skolas was extremely fun and challenging. Took a while to get there. More 3-man content that's really challenging, upwards of like raid levels of challenging, I think is a great thing and a great sector for the game to explore. 6-man raids, always awesome, but it is way more accessible for people to put together a fire team of 3 people than it is 6, you know?
Yeah, or I mean more activities that use the same number of guardians, right? You know, they brought in the 4v4 PvP, and then if you do a strike, well, maybe you got to find one more person, or maybe you're doing a raid, and then you want to go do strikes. Well, you got to cut half the team. The escalation protocol, that kind of stuff's not match made. Blind well, not match made. The raid's not match made. All that kind of stuff. More content that matches fire team sizes across the board.
Mm-hmm. I want to note that if you did not beat the Shattered Throne this last week in the TWAB, it said, and I quote, "If you are not quite ready yet, don't worry. The Shattered Throne will return when the curse cycle is at its worst again in 3 weeks. That should give you some time to power up and prepare to explore its depths," end quote. I was hit a little bit off guard by this on 2 fronts. Number one, I am surprised to hear that it sounds like the curse cycle is going to rotate. Like, are we going to go back to week 2 of the Dreaming City and then week 3 and then week 4? Like, so did we have our 4 weeks of the Dreaming City and that's what it's going to be now on rotation? Or does the story continue from here? Are there more Ascendant challenges? Are we going to have more story missions, or was it all culminating to this point and their Dreaming City evolution is a 1-month thing that just now goes on repeat? What do you think?
Yeah, that's an interesting theory, because we had the Black Spindle in Destiny 1 that was on like it was the weekly heroic or the daily heroic for one particular mission. Whenever it came up, you knew the Black Spindle was active. I think it would make sense to have the monthly rotation. Again, it brings things to do on a new cycle. I also think that this could potentially lead us into Festival of the Lost, because it says 3 weeks. That brings us into the last week of October, which is Halloween time. That's usually when we see Festival of the Lost start to... So maybe it's just replaced by that. Maybe the Dreaming City becomes cleansed of all taken stuff, and then we just go back to week 1. And that's what the Dreaming City looks like. And then you're doing Festival of the Lost stuff, which would then lead us into November, leading up to the Black Armory. So... or maybe after Festival of the Lost, the Dreaming City cycle returns, leading us into the Black Armory, that kind of stuff.
That's a good point. I honestly have completely forgot about Festival of the Lost leading up into this point, but that's a...
Because we also have the Dawning later in December, most likely, you know, after Black Armory, maybe. Maybe Black Armory is going to have another 3-week cycle activity for the Patrol Zone or whatever it opens up.
Well, hold on to that thought. As soon as we get through the Masterwork Cores and the Iron Banner updates, I want to talk about specifically just that. Because we really do need to look at November building into the Black Armory and, of course, the Dawning after that. So, first of all, Breakthrough, the new PvP game mode. I didn't get the chance to play it this last week. I honestly was just mainly focused on my Petra stuff and Nightfalls and all that jazz. And I didn't get the chance to talk to anybody that did, so I'll have to dig into competitive this week to see if I can give it a shot. Masterwork Cores, though. I want to paraphrase what Bungie had to say about it. Probably one of the most hotly debated pieces of design choices from Forsaken, Masterwork Cores, and the Infusion economy. Bungie basically stated that they want Masterwork Cores to be synonymous with Infusion. However, their identity before Forsaken, you know, pre-Forsaken Masterwork Cores, of being like the pinnacleizing item, is sort of a cloud hanging over the current reason for Masterwork Cores' existence. If you remember, before Forsaken, it really was the last cherry on top of the cake that you did to the gear that you liked the most. And it offers a different purpose in Forsaken. As such, Bungie's choices to address the concerns about Masterwork Cores is they're going to be increasing and creating more reliable and plentiful sources for cores. They're also going to be renaming Masterwork Cores so their purpose is more obvious. They want the two to be tied together. They want Infusion to be more costly than it ever has been in, you know, Destiny's lifespan up until now. They want it to be a choice. I get it, and I think we've talked about it here before. I like economies that are geared towards maybe a little bit more long-term investment. I think they've maybe swung the pendulum a little bit too far, and I find it kind of comical, however, that they are going to rename them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, just call them strange coins and be done with it. It's like, I mean, come on, right? It's another currency into the game. I like that they're buffing the drop rate, but at what percentage, we'll find out.
It feels a little slow, if I'm honest with you. I mean, there should have been specifics at this point. We're a month into it. If they've made the choice, all right, we're going to do some adjustments. All right, what are the new sources? And how reliable will they be earned from? And what's the new name going to be? It feels like this was a decision that was made not 2 weeks ago, but probably a day or two before the TWAB came out, right?
I mean, the TWAB says Uncommon Cores. If they could go with that name, sure, why not?
That's,
Yeah, that's the title of the section. Like, what? Come on, like Uncommon Cores? Just do strange coins. Come on.
Wait, maybe it's a play on Common Core, like education or something like that. You know what I mean? There's like a hidden message embedded in this or something.
Who wrote the TWAB?
It's a Cosmo. I think it's a Cosmo
TWAB. Okay.
He always drops those Imgur links. You know, you're like, ooh, what's going on here? There's some secrets. Exotic drop chances for Forsaken exotics. There are Bungie plans to increase the chance for exotics to drop of stuff you don't already have. I wanted to note, I have played, I think, 60 or 70 hours of Forsaken, and I have not had a single Forsaken exotic drop just yet. You had the bow, didn't you?
No, I do not have the bow. I can't remember what I got. I got a chest piece, but I can't remember if it's Forsaken or not, and I cannot remember the name because I never put it on because Orpheus rigs are too good.
Oh my gosh. I have had exotics drop for me, and I'm not talking about the exotics that you can earn through quest steps like Chaperone or Ace of Spades. I just haven't had an actual Forsaken exotic drop. So
yeah, I mean, I had the Prometheus lens and a Wardcliff coil drop, but that's it, right? And obviously those were pre-Forsaken.
I got like a 4th Fighting Lion. That felt really good. I think I've gotten a few Fighting Lions.
They did buff grenade launchers, didn't they? Give it a shot.
Edge memes. Iron Banner, they're making some updates. Across the board, they're nerfing the bounties. They're making those weekly bounties easier to do. I think they probably looked at the data and not a ton of people finished their weekly bounties. Additionally, for the next Iron Banner that comes around, every one of those weekly bounties, not just 2 of them, will provide powerful gear. This definitely resonates with what Iron Banner has been for years, a catch-up mechanic. And you'll probably see a lot more engagement, and it makes sense as an expansion goes on. Bungie makes it progressively easier for people to catch up and get to the power levels they need to be before the next, drop, the next thing that pushes the investment loop forward. High Moon Ditty worked on Forsaken. Found out that today in the TWAB when they showed off some of the art pieces. So
killed it. They killed it, man. Oof. Well done.
Beautiful. If you don't know, Bungie, Activision brought on High Moon and Vicarious Visions. 2 studios that Activision has utilized a ton in the past. I don't know if they are owned. They're probably not owned by Activision, but they are utilized on a lot of Activision projects. And we knew Vicarious Visions worked heavily on Warmind, but I didn't know that High Moon was working on Forsaken. Makes sense when you look at the amount of stuff and the quality that Forsaken is. So is Vicarious Visions maybe going to be working on some of the annual pass content? Or working on whatever's next fall. I have no idea. I just thought it was cool to point that out for longtime Destiny nerds. So,
do it. Bring them in. They're really good. They're really good. Their art is so good. I love it.
The art this expansion was out of control. Okay, I want to rotate back to what you had talked about. Forsaken's been out a month. The next 6 weeks define what Destiny 2 Year 2 looks like. What Bungie's plan is to, as they said in their Vidoc, try and do away with content drought. I'm looking at this thinking that we've seen the full amount of content the Dreaming City has to offer purely by them saying Shattered Throne is going to be coming up once every 3 weeks. I don't know if the game... Do you think it benefits from having Shattered Throne be an activity that's just a once-a-month special thing? I understand like Whisper of the Worm being tied to the weekend. I get that. But this is... I don't know what it adds, making it that timed thing. Maybe it does add a lot. I'm literally just asking the question.
I mean, think about it this way. I think it's a nice introduction into the activity type. It lets Bungie know that people are interested and want more of that content. So as they release more annual pass content, they can release more dungeons and have a month of every single week is a different featured dungeon, and it keeps the content drought not there. I mean, obviously, if you complete all 4 within the first month, then you've got all the gear, but that just means you're a regular player. And people who don't get the chance, maybe they miss out on a weekend, they can experience it in the future.
That's the world, like the ideal world.
Yeah,
that we move into is what you're saying, right? Like having a rotational dungeon each week. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense because, of course, you have the Nightfall, rotates every week. You have, we don't have Trials anymore, so that weekly activity is gone. That's replaced by, Whisper of the Worm? That's not really a thing. Iron Banner is on a monthly rotation, right?
Faction rallies are taking a break this season as well, aren't they?
Faction rallies. Oh my gosh. Bring those back, but make them daily.
I do miss Trials. I had noted that in the show notes before. Like, imagine everything you've been doing for your weeklies with Forsaken. If you are like an endgame dude, and then you had Trials on top of it, oh my gosh, there's way more to do than what I can like put into a game each week. Like,
yeah, Forsaken is a good foundation for the hobby, Destiny as a hobby. It's good. They need to build on this. They do not need to remove, like, okay, we'll need to take Whisper of the Worm away for a month so that we can do Trials instead on the weekend. No, don't do that. Build on top of this.
Let the player choose what they want to do. Let's look at then October. Next 2-3 weeks, probably business as usual. We don't really have any events in the next 2 weeks on the horizon. Iron Banner is going to come back the end of October-ish. Festival of the Lost, highly likely that this is probably like an early November thing, don't you think? Or do you believe that they're going to hit it on a Halloween portion?
I hope it's the last week of October at least, because that Tuesday is the 30th and Halloween is the 31st, obviously.
It's like a Wednesday this year, isn't it?
Halloween is a Wednesday this year, yes.
Yeah.
And it's Festival of the Lost is not... It's not like a Halloween event, but it's around that time, and they kind of theme it around spooky things. They do the trick-or-treating around the tower.
Yeah, masks.
There's no heiress to give you raisins this time or that kind of stuff. So I would hope that's hopefully the week before, but I would probably think that last week of October is the 30th.
And then you come into November. The back 2 weeks of November, 3 weeks, Bungie usually milks it with live streams. You're going to have some lead up press-wise to the Black Armory, the first of the annual pass content. It's super weird that we're talking almost about December. This year, dude, is just insane how fast this has gone. But November-ish in the next 6 weeks, I think there's a balance here. Right about now, your real hardcore players, the super dedicated daily guys who've hit all their milestones on multiple characters since launch, they're hitting 600. They're beginning the min-max portion of the game. Then you'd have probably the middle level of players, the guys who put, 50 to 70 hours in or whatever. And they're in the, 550s to 570 range. They're just tackling the raid, and they're just starting to work their way up. But 600 is still another probably month away for those guys. And then on the bottom tier, you have like the more casual people who are in the like 520s to 525s. Maybe they raid before December, maybe they don't, but they're likely only going to be hitting 560 or 70 by the time we get to the Black Armory. Did Forsaken make a happy sandwich for all of those players, or are we about to see those 600, power guys get angry about waiting the next month and a half for new content?
Yeah, are even the end game people at content drought yet? Because now would be about the time, like you said, that they're hitting that cap.
I think min-maxing is just now getting going, right? Like people wanting to optimize mods.
Especially with the infusion costs. I mean, they just talked about the Masterwork Cores changing the economy there, but infusing was like not just a meaningful choice. It was like, if I infuse this, I need to go grind some more cores for 3 hours before I can infuse something else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, min-maxing. That's the end game right there. I mean, talking about the dawning for December, the timing of that was late December last year in Destiny 2, and it lasted for 3 weeks or so. If that's the same timing this year, I mean, we have 2 weeks of the Black Armory before then. So, I mean, December 4th is a Tuesday. So do we want to call that?
You're Nostradamus. I mean, you're the one who calls these things with accuracy, not me.
I mean, I just think it would make sense. Last year, I just pulled it up. The dawning was December 19th until January 9th. That same timeline is December 18th this week. 2 weeks before that is the 4th on that Tuesday. So Black Armory on the 4th. Is Black Armory going to last more than 2 weeks? Because an event is right on its heels. I don't know.
It'll be very curious to see. I'm putting the crystal ball away for a second and just want to say, I believe Gambit is a huge jackpot of potential for them. I love that game mode. I also hate that game mode, but I love that game mode. Competitive PvE stuff in Destiny is a huge ticket to success moving forward. We've had a month with the game. I think you and I have talked about here a few things that we'd like to see, right? Solo matchmaking. It's not super fun going against 4 stacks when you're a single player. And B, I want to see more augmented invariants of Gambit as a game mode. I would love to see a version of Gambit that featured no invaders, right?
Yes, I would play that nonstop.
Still has blockers. It's
2
like
teams,
a speed run.
PvP or PvE speed runs. That would be the greatest thing ever. Yes, let's do that. Plus mayhem on top of that.
Yeah, that's the next thing. Gambit with modifiers thrown into the mix. That could change up
Solar
the way
burn,
the week
arc burn,
goes.
void burn, that kind of stuff. Yes.
What about a pinnacle Gambit activity that's like Trials or an Iron Banner? It shows up once a month and it has some unique twist to it.
Power level enabled. That'd be nice.
Well, it's kind of already there,
Well, for the PvP side of things, yeah, the invaders are definitely power level enabled. But like, if there's no invaders and there's a PvE power level enabled playlist for Gambit, I'd be all over that. Absolutely.
The cherry too on top of the cake with Gambit for me is them taking some of those investment-based rewards that you saw from the PvP culture and putting it in a PvE mode. So the infamy ranks, the ability to reset those ranks, the bounties, and then also, long-term pursuits to go after, when the Masterwork Core exploit was in the game and you could get your truth after resetting your rank. And then it wasn't, what is it? It's not truth. What's it called? Trust or something? The hand cannon? I'm totally blanking on it right now.
Yeah, Trust is the Gambit hand cannon.
And you could dismantle it for 7 Masterwork Cores and it costed 5. So if you actually just grinded Gambit your face off the first week, you could have an infinite Masterwork Core loop. It's gone now. But taking those kind of investment loops and applying it to PvE, I want to see that logic pushed elsewhere. I want to see it put into strikes, put into raids, that kind of a thing,
Yeah, agreed.
Well, I think it's been an incredible first month. What about you?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, 1 month later and I'm not max light, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't play that often. I play, about 5 hours a week. But 5 hours a week in Curse of Osiris, I was done in 2 weeks. So
it's a definite shift.
Huge improvement. Huge improvement here.
I'm super
a lot of stuff to work
too.
on, but they're in the right direction this time.
Mm-hmm. And tone-wise, looks like a great fall into a strong winter. Springtime is the real test, though. We've been around for a lot of Destiny springtimes, and we'll just see. See.
I mean, like I said, they need to do 2 DLCs in a row really well because they really never done that. So,
well, thanks very much,
Armory,
you guys.
All on you.
It's all on you. It's all on the Black Armory, bros. You've heard it here. If it's just exotic quests for the old exotics, Ditty is not happy. It's going to be a sourpuss.
I'm not paying for it.
All right. Where can people find your content, dude?
Twitter.com/DittyDTS, DITTY, and YouTube.com/wooshness, WOOOSHNESS.
You can check out the links from today's show and more on our website, destinytheshow.com. You can follow us on Twitter @DestinyTheShow and join the conversation in our Discord, discord.me/destinytheshow. You can follow me on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, all the places @BBKDRAGOON. Thanks for listening. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you next time.